I am genuinely honored to introduce someone to you who's about to take the stage, who really doesn't even need an introduction, but I'm gonna tease it. We know his story as one of the Exonerated Five. The 5 young men who were accused and convicted of rape and assault in 1989, and whose stories inspired the award-winning series When They See Us. How many of you saw that? Everyone, please stand to your feet and join me in welcoming Raymond Santana.
All right, sit down. We don't have that much time, y'all. They say I don't have that much time, so we can't spend it clapping. First off, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here today. Definitely an honor because I get to vent. So, any psychologists in the house, don't send me no bills. All right, so today is National Day of Racial Healing, right? And so for me, when I looked at that, I had to look back at my history and my travels and what I've been through for the last 30 years, right? We all have seen When They See Us, right? Yeah. All right, so you know that 1990, I was 14 years old, and myself, along with 4 other individuals who I did not know, were charged, tried, and convicted for the rape and attempted murder of the Central Park jogger. And so, oh, thank you. And so, for me being 14 years old and not really know what was expected, not knowing what I was going through, everything went over my head, not knowing who Miranda was. And so, here I was going through this system at a very young age in my life, and it became an indoctrination period for me, because this was the time that my dad was supposed to teach me the fundamentals of how to become a young man. And instead, it was replaced with prison life, right? The one thing that I did get out of it was that I got an education. I was able to go to college. And during those college days, I had a professor by the name of Latif Islam who lived in Poughkeepsie, New York. And he had also been in prison, and he had a master's degree and became a professor at Marist College. And here he was teaching us this class. It was like a Black Studies class. And so when we got to syllabus, there was one book on the syllabus, but he gave us 7 books to read, 6 or 7. And when I said, Professor, why you give us all these books if we only using one? And he said, young brother, you don't understand it right now, but one day you will. This will be part of your arsenal. And I just looked at him like, yeah, all right, whatever. And as we went through the class, and I started to develop this respect for this man, because he was a towering figure and he had this really deep voice. So when he talked, everybody listened. And as we went through this class and we finished and I got my A, right? I went back and started reading these books. And so for me, the first book was Autobiography of Malcolm X, right? People's History by Howard Zinn, The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson, and several other books, Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, Volumes 1, 2, and 3. And so it's at this point that I had this awakening of who I am and what happened to us, right? It's at this point that this becomes the building blocks for me of who I'm going to become later on in life. And so now, when I get exonerated and I come back, we have to look at, I had to go back and reanalyze my case and look at how did race play a part, right? I started to figure out that there were 400 articles written about us within the first 2 weeks of this case, dissecting the lives of 14 and 15 and 16-year-old boys, criminalizing us, right, and putting out this picture that we were bad kids to begin with all of the labels, wilding, urban terrorists, super predator, which is the base that comes into the 1994 crime bill, which started mass incarceration. That was us. We were the ones that they used. We were the example. And so from there, I had to figure out, how do we combat this? This is a system that's been running for years and has had a great head start on us. How do we win? This is a battle. This system is ran on almost billion-dollar budgets, where you can lock a man up for $20,000 to $40,000 a year, but you can lock up a juvenile and get as much as $200,000 a year. This is a system that plays chess. So how do we combat that? And plus, we didn't have a voice. So when the Ken Burns documentary comes out in 2012, this gives us our voice. This is where we start to implement how we fight back against a system that is trying to steal our youth, right? And how do we do it together? How do we band with other organizations to fight against this one common enemy? And so now, when you bring up to when they see us, now we're grown. There's a growth there between the doc and the series, that now we're not afraid to tell the whole story and put our lives out there so that the world can see it, because this is a world issue. We need everybody on board. We need all hands on deck to fight against this system that rather have our youth occupy a jail cell than a college dorm. Right? And so, racial healing. For me, how do I get that? What do I do? I had to understand who was my enemy. Who did this to us? I can't walk around and be bitter. I can't walk around and be mad. I have to understand what the system is designed to do and what it's currently doing. And we have to formulate a plan that can help our kids. And so our story became the perfect medium for that. To tell our youth what happened and how this happens on a daily basis, every day. Because if you look at the story of the Central Park jogger case, it looks like it's a fairy tale. Somebody wrote this. This can't be real. Especially when you have a whole generation who doesn't even know who we are. Right? I'm 35 years old. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm not. I'm 40. Well, you get it, all right? You see the salt and pepper. We don't got to talk about it. And so here it is that we band together against the system to tell our story, to wake up our kids. That becomes part of our racial healing. Every time I get to step in front of a crowd and tell my story, I heal just a little bit more. All right? But now we know that we have a bigger problem. It can't just be the five of us. We need everybody. So our message to the youth today is that, since we need all hands on deck, you guys are in a perfect position. Now, I'm talking about the college students. Well, there might be some in here, right? The college students and the generations behind them in a perfect situation because they are in these greater institutions of education. They're getting the building blocks, they're getting the fundamentals of what they're going to do in life. And so we ask them to occupy all spaces. Don't be afraid to take that police officer job, that district attorney job. Don't be afraid to senator, governor, biochemist. Do not be afraid to occupy these spaces. And we have to do that as a people because we need all hands on deck, right? Once the system is done with Black and Latino boys, who's next? Because it doesn't care. It just needs to operate, and it moves at a fast pace, right? And that's why there's prisons all across the country, because somebody has to occupy those spaces. And we know that the younger they are, the more beneficial it is for the system. So we have to work together to pull those kids out of that. And that's how we cripple the system. And then also, we awaken the kids by telling them the story, and we ask them to occupy spaces so that they can start to affect systematic change from within. This is planting seeds. I might not see it, but hopefully my daughter will. She's 15. Hopefully she'll benefit from that. This is a long-term strategic process. This is playing chess, right? And this is how we have to maneuver. But we need all hands on deck. So I come in today with a message. Whatever you do, whether you sing it, you dance it, you write it, you draw it, you vote it, you vote it, you vote it. We need everybody on deck, and only together. It doesn't matter your nationality, your sexual preference, doesn't matter, none of that. The system doesn't operate like that. It just needs a body. So we call on everybody, all hands on deck. You do what you do, and we start to implement some type of change together, right? And in closing, I will see you on the battlefield. Thank you.